The cooperative inquiry was set up as an opportunity for development workers to meet with their peers and share and express common concerns using action research methodology, which is what underpins the cooperative inquiry.
At the start of the cooperative inquiry, I wasn't really sure what it was all about, but what I wanted was to be meeting with other development workers in Camden who had different jobs and who also were employed by different sectors, like I'm in the public sector. I thought it'd be interesting to work with people who came from the voluntary sector.
I think what I wanted to do was get a better understanding of how to work and how to develop different approaches to work. And I thought that this might be an opportunity to be able to explore themes with other people who work within community development.
The focus on your professionalism, on the way that you do your work, was just very, very valuable.
The cooperative inquiry can go two ways. The participants involved can either decide to identify a common question, a common issue, or, as in the case of our development workers, they all had individual inquiries because they're each of them working in different fields. And as facilitators, it was our role to help them identify what their own concerns were.
When the cooperative inquiry started, I felt that I was being pulled in 100 different directions, and my initial inquiry was about how can I make sure that I'm working towards the community's priorities and not everybody else's, my own, the councils, different community groups and whatever.
So we looked at different strategies that each of the development workers could apply and take back with them to their work. And some of the tools that we used to develop that practice was journaling. We did quite a lot of writing within the workshop time, creative writing.
The journaling was also very valuable, and I'm actually using that now much more. I think it's so important to write down what you learn, you know? I think it's so important.
One of the exercises that was very useful and a lot of fun was what we've called a two-column exercise. So you get a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. You record a conversation that you've had with a boss, let's say. So the conversation that took place happens on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, there's a little commentary, which is your own reflections about what you were really thinking when that conversation was going on.
And then you sort of analyse what someone is actually really saying. So you look at the words that they say, and then through the conversation you sort of look at what they're actually really trying to say, which kind of, by reflecting, gives you a different perspective. That's one that I found useful.
One of the development workers in our group was a very visual person, and so for him to use visual expression as a way of communicating or telling us about the way he was feeling was to draw some pictures.
Personally, I used art as a form of being able to reflect and to be able to illustrate my experiences and then discuss them with the rest of the group. This was drawn as really a response to a meeting I attended with a hospital manager. The meeting really just lasted 5 minutes. I asked about the budget for the user involvement strategy, and I was told there wasn't any. And then for the subsequent 10 minutes, we sat in complete silence. So when I got back to the office, I kind of thought about this, and then I thought, well, it was reminiscent of a gunfight. And this is really the politics of the environment that we operate in, that we feel that we have to face up to one another.
So he was able to articulate what it was he felt about the situation. And subsequently, using a different drawing, the scenario would change.
And being able to perhaps stand back as a third person and be able to try and kind of understand why the situations were developing, why there were frustrations, why there were conflicts within the areas that we're working in, was a better way of being able to perhaps detach yourself.
It's very easy to fall into patterns of doing things always the same way. But I think through the reflection that you can afford via the cooperative inquiry, it enables you to hang on a second, things can be different here, it doesn't have to be like that.
What I kind of did through the reflective process was actually work out that it was my style of work that was the problem. I was trying to do too much, I was spreading myself too thin and trying to respond to everybody's priorities. So what I did was I kind of reorganised myself, and I reorganised what I did into 6 themes, and my work now falls into these 6 themes, and if it doesn't come into these 6 themes, I don't do it now.
It was a good opportunity for us all to really just talk about what our work was about, where we were actually finding difficulties, and how we were able to overcome them.
As a development worker, it's a very lonely job, and the cooperative inquiry was like a nice cushion to sit on for a while.
In a way, it's a bit like professional therapy.
It's an opportunity to look at your own practice in an environment that's supportive, non-judgmental, and does have your own interests at heart.